People of Reddit, what was the dumbest thing you got punished for in school? In 7th grade I found a notebook in the hallway and turned it into my teacher. I was suspended for 3 days because there was a drawing of a centaur holding a pitchfork and they deemed that as gang related ! This is in Atlanta. So, no gangs matching that description here. Flip the monitor screen upside down. Control plus Alt plus arrow key. Trying to go to the library during lunch. They said I needed a hall pass. Fine. I went and got one. Then they were upset because the hall pass didn't have an end time on it. But the teacher who gave me the pass was the same class I'd returned to after lunch. It was a split period class. And when I tried to show them my schedule to prove that, they sent me to the principal's office for insubordination. I just wanted to do some research for a paper. Jokes on them. That teacher ended up just giving me several pre-signed passes because in his words that is just really dumb. Parent got called in because I farted in class. Must have been a doozy. Some real chemical warfare. Some guy pushed his friend down the stairs in elementary and said guy landed on me. Got detention for missing an important lesson while I was out cold in the infirmary. I got a lollipop as an apology for the detention after it was explained though. A big lollipop. Throwing grass. They told me it could have landed in someone's throat and shocked them to death. 8th grade. Our school had a weird layout where you had to walk through classrooms to get to another classroom. As I was passing through one, I was telling my friend how this new video game is freaking awesome. Teacher pulls me aside and asks what I said. I told her I said it was freaking awesome and she scolded me for using a substitute for a bad word. What? Disachained even my teacher and she's telling me I can't use a substitute? I asked her. What about don or heck? Aren't though they technically substitutes? She got all red in the face and huffy and said, go to the principal's right now for talking back. I told her I would be late for class, which is right through that door. She didn't appreciate the added defiance and grabbed my bicep and dragged me into the classroom. She told my teacher what I said and yelled, discipline him however you feel is necessary. My teacher nodded and she huffed out of the room. My teacher bent down and whispered that she gets grouchy in the mornings. Just be careful what I say when I pass her, and that was that. Edit, a word. One time my best friend at the time and I, both female, exchanged a hug at recess because we were in different classes. One of my teachers sent us to the wall where we had to stand for 30 minutes alone. Because she claimed by hugging we were trying to turn on our male friends. We were in grade 6. I was in hospital for a broken leg and the teacher put me in detention for missing a lesson. When I tried to explain to her that I broke my leg, she said that it doesn't matter and extended my detention for talking back. Edit, wow, I didn't manage for this to explode. My friends and I were having a race to 300 karma. I'm a first time redditor and you kind strangers helped me a lot. PS. My leg healed fine but I still had to attend that detention. Elementary school. Was in the bathroom stall taking a dump during lunch. Someone runs in and starts kicking all the stall doors into where it becomes a pain for kids my age at the time. Obviously, to open them. Kerblem. Door swings in toward me just a bit and gets stuck. I'm trying my best to get the damn door open to no avail. Don't remember how long I was in there alone just crying. But one of the lunch aides comes to lock the door to the bathroom for the day. Here's me. Gets me out of there. Then proceeds to yell at me for being in the bathroom at that time. She goes so far as to take me to the office to have my mother called in. Which they do instead of letting me explain myself. When she shows up and I explain myself to her, she gets irate and tears everyone in the school office a new one. No matter what I did from then on, I never had my mother called while I was there. Being bullied. Schools don't know how to deal with bullies and blame the victim instead. Much easier. They don't argue back. For once, my Midwestern high school can put a feather in its cap. There was a bully in my class nagging on a poor introverted upperclassman. Non-stop harassment all period, study hall, lunch, I don't remember. She calmly stands up, grabs her books, walks over to him, and bashes his head with a full swing of her belongings. He starts wailing to the nearest teacher. His response? What did you do to deserve it? Getting beat up by 2 other kids in the bathroom. When I was in 5th grade, we were doing our end of year testing. So we were supposed to be well behaved and serious. They gave us a bathroom break. So a large group of boys all went. When I came out of the stall, one kid grabbed me from behind and held my arms behind my back. And another kid kept punching me in the stomach and chest. My teacher came storming in. Everyone dispersed. And she grabbed me by the arm and dragged me back to class. I was forced to write the 2 boys who beat me up an apology letter. She threatened to have me expelled from the entire school district if I didn't. And never gave me the chance to explain myself. Me being a 5th grader, I thought I had to listen to her. And I was always too afraid to tell my parents out of fear of getting in trouble. The 2 boys never got in trouble. I was the only one who did. And I was never allowed to explain my side of the story. Edit. Wow. Thanks for the support and compassion, guys. I've told this story a few times on Reddit. And never really received much support from anyone. Thank you, guys. I was known as the kid who got his book taken away so he could converse with the others. Also got my book taken away. Would bring a decoy book to give to the teacher. And would read the book inside of the book for the class. Worked all year until a student told the teacher. When I was in the 6th grade, I had a doctor's appointment on a test day, so I came in late. My teacher sent me to a neighboring classroom to take the test while they went over the answers. On the very last question I ended up doing eeny, meeny, miny, mo, and the teacher of the neighboring classroom happened to look over at me as my pencil was going back and forth between answers. She stopped her whole class and yelled, "Did you just do eeny meeny miny mo?" Me thinking I had just committed murder told her no. So she freaked out and called my teacher. Outraged, I had a very nervous walk back to my classroom, and my teacher was just like sup and didn't even mention it. Edit. I wasn't saying it out loud. I was doing it in my head, and she assumed I did it based on my pencil moving back and forth between the 2 answers. Which makes it even more stupid of a freak out. We got 25 questions for homework. I did 24 questions but didn't understand question 25. The teacher gave me 20 lines signed by my parents for not doing my homework. Were the lines, "If I don't understand, I should make something up instead of asking for help"? What could possibly go wrong? Yawning. I was in math class, and while the teacher was doing a problem, I yawned. Not loudly. Not exaggeratedly. I just covered my mouth and did a silent yawn. Teacher saw and literally stopped teaching and stared me down. I turned red and just sat there, and she squared her shoulders and said, "Since you aren't going to apologize for disrespecting me, you can get out of my classroom. It's too boring here anyways for you, I suppose." I was confused and asked why, and she said, "You're just too smart to be here. So get out." I went to the office and couldn't tell them why I was in trouble. When the teacher called down, she said I yawned and looked bored. The principal wasn't very happy with her reason and scolded her before sending me back to class, but still. What the duck? In 6th grade, the teacher ripped up my assignment in front of the class and gave me detention because I didn't wait until I was home to do my homework. That's messed up. All through my school years I tried to finish my homework in class. Do they want to waste your time? One time my teacher was explaining a math problem on the board and she made an arithmetic mistake. I raised my hand and pointed out the mistake, and she looked at her notes and verified that she had transcribed it correctly. I tried to argue that just because it's written in her notes doesn't mean it's correct and that she should investigate here and now. Unfortunately, I was just a kid and couldn't explain that very well. She thought I was being rude and sent me into the hall. My school forbids students from dyeing their hair. One day after a weekly assembly, they decided to do a spot check. No socks. Punished. No school badge on your breast pocket. punished. See, my hair is black, but when exposed under the sun, it turns dirt brown. They did a spot check under the sun that day, and guess who got punished for dyeing their hair? This was 10 years ago. We were allowed to dye hair natural colors, and in 8th grade I dyed the ends of my hair red. I immediately got in trouble for having unnatural hair color, while the kid who smoked cigarettes at 12 years old and had highlighter yellow hair didn't get sheet. 5th or 6th grade. I told a friend I liked a girl or had a crush on this girl. He wrote her a love letter, signed my name and slid it in her locker. The next morning I got called to the office. My teacher was there, with another teacher holding the note. Asked me why I done this. I didn't do that, I said. They got my notebook to compare the handwriting. Completely different, but they insisted it was identical. I gave up after about 30 minutes and accepted my punishment of 1 day lunch detention. Eat lunch alone, whatever. 2 days later I found out who did it. Ha ha ha, good times. Getting stabbed by a pen in 1st grade. I got in trouble for that. Completely unwarranted too. He just stabbed me out of nowhere, raised his hand, and said I punched him. I was bleeding and crying. He was straight-faced. I had never done anything bad in that class, but this kid would capture bugs and burn them to death with a magnifying glass. But I was the bad one. I was around 8 at the time, sitting in our school assembly, with everyone singing Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Little me thinking I was hilarious. Sang out, used to laugh and call him names, like fish face, and then laughed at my amazing wit. My teacher instantly gave me daggers and tells me I have after school detention. So I'm annoyed sitting in detention, forced to write out the lyrics to the song over and over, thinking wow, this woman is passionate about Rudolph. After 45 minutes I mustered up the courage to ask what's so bad about saying fish face. As it turns out she thought I said duck face. Still had to stay in detention for another half hour. Getting suspended for skipping class kinda defeats the purpose. So, you like leaving school? A. We'll have you leave so much school you won't know what to do with yourself. Cleaning up too fast in kindergarten. We pretended a bomb would go off, so we had to clean up really fast. Apparently we were being silly and I've been scarred for life ever since. I'm glad that teacher is probably dead by now. Another time I guessed the principal's computer password to log in as the man go on the internet. This was in 1998. Each class had Sheety Max on an intranet, so when they found out I got in Sheet for hacking, when the school called my parents they just laughed at them, hung up, told me not to duck around, and we went for pizza. There were these two sisters who bullied me and my best friend for months. We went to the principal many times and nothing was ever done about it. One day they were following us around after school talking shit, and finally I turned around and said something along the lines of them being fat and to leave us alone. I know it's a shitty comeback, especially compared to all the things they were saying, but whatever. My friend went home and minutes later they jumped me from behind in the main lobby and I got a 2-day suspension for instigating the fight. My best friend and I were kicked out of our classroom for smiling at each other, because smiling at each other is disruptive to the class. Got busted for alcohol in my room when I wasn't drinking. Background: it was a private university operated by a church, so it was a dry campus. My roommate was throwing a party while I was home recovering from being sick. I was taking antibiotics and was therefore not drinking alcohol that evening. The fact that he was also doing coke with a girl in our bathroom during the party wasn't caught by the RAs. The party was noticed by the RAs and we all got written up for having alcohol in our room on campus. So we all had to go to an anti-alcoholic counseling session. Counselor, do you promise not to do that anymore? Me, absolutely. Next time I get written up for alcohol I will make sure that I actually had a drink. I was into serial killers as a teen. It's interesting how the human brain works kind of way. Someone mentioned a rather famous one randomly while we were on break in a class. I said, oh yeah, he's super interesting, went into no details. The teacher says, "Who is that you're talking about?" I said, "Oh. He was a serial killer. Known for killing young boys." Boom. Trouble. Name written on the board as a troublemaker. Sent to the principal's office. I was also sent to the office by the same teacher because a new student was threatening to shoot me in the head. After she verbally threatened me for a while, she started making shooting motions with her hands when the teacher wasn't looking. Finally I said to her, "Stop threatening to shoot me." And yep. Said the word shoot, so I got sent to the office. My explanations didn't matter to them. In 5th grade, some of my other classmates had this super creative game at recess that had 2 rules. 1. Find the biggest rock. 2. Throw it at whoever the hell you want. I thought if I didn't play I would get hit with a rock, like some kind of idiot. Some kid found a big rock. Hit me in the head with it. And when I told the teacher I needed to see the nurse, I was sent to the principal's office because the kid who threw the rock was a good kid who wouldn't do something like that unprovoked. Not myself, but a good friend and classmate. He was across the classroom sharpening his pencil when his desk literally collapsed on itself. He was issued 2 detentions and a referral for destruction of property. To this day I've never seen someone's face as confused and defeated. I have a speech impediment that makes it difficult to pronounce the letter R, roticism, and my cadence tone is irregular. It all stems from a car crash I was in as an infant that caused all sorts of problems for me. In my public speaking class, my teacher docked points multiple times for my accent and said I should have gone to speech therapy for it. Sorry, my parents couldn't afford something that is not covered by insurance. Sorry you had the displeasure of listening to me speak normally. When I was in kindergarten, my teacher sent me to alternative classroom for eating the honeycomb cereal off of a paper beehive we were making as an activity. Duck you. MRS. Fort. Once got in trouble by a teacher I didn't have for having red highlights. It wasn't bold. It was dark reddish brown. And the principal just told me to go back to class. Another time I got in trouble for yawning cause the teacher thought I was bored. I loved that class. No way I was bored. Just tired. I started skipping that class after that. In high school I skipped a class that I didn't have. I told the teacher and she agreed that I wasn't even allowed to take that particular class. 2 days detention. Well, one time in 4th I got sent to detention for a day for not eating trail mix my teacher handed out. I was allergic to like 90% of the things in it. It was also homemade and almost everyone who ate it got food poisoning. Still not worth the detention. Finished my work. Got told off for finishing the paper too fast. Teacher gave me extra work. I finished that too. She told me to prove I'd understood it. I answered all her questions about it. She yelled at me. My teacher asked me to shut the window behind me. The latch was stiff, so I used a bit more strength and it shut really loudly. I was taken into the hallway and talked to about almost breaking school property. Being a disturbance. etc. Got a warning. Next level would have been a suspension apparently, and went back to class. It was probably more dumb on my part. But I always thought it was a bit funny that the first time I ever got in serious trouble was for destruction of school property. When I was in 7th grade. I hit a growth spurt and obviously had to show off my new height. I did so by gently smacking an exit sign hanging at the bottom of the stairwell. The exit sign fell and I got detention and a disciplinary referral.